Hi, this is Morley and this is the M-Wire. In this video, we are going to look at Bill A416 out of New York that is proposing that they can put you in a quote-unquote detention center should they deem you a medical health risk. A big, massive shout out to my new subscribers. Thank you so much for the support. If you haven't already subscribed, please help fight the censorship and subscribe. It is absolutely free of charge. So in this bill, they're proposing that they can put you in a detention center should they deem you a health risk. We're going to get into the particulars of that in a minute, but let's look at the ramifications of putting you in a detention center indefinitely. The big question is, aside from you being detained and your life essentially being put on hold for however long they decide to, is how do you pay your bills? It's not like they're going to pay your bills for you. So if you're detained for, say, 30 days, 60 days, according to this, up to 90 days, where do you get money from to, do things like pay your rent and whatnot? I don't think they thought this through really well because that would put undue financial hardship on a lot of people. But let's get into the particulars of this, shall we? Assemblyman Noah Nicholas Perry of New York has introduced a bill that would allow for the removal and/or detention of any person deemed as a case, contact, or carrier of the Wuhan coronavirus in order to place that person into a detention, aka concentration camp. Better known as Bill A416, the proposed legislation would give sweeping powers to state governments to rip people from their homes and place them into medical or other appropriate facilities in the event that a health emergency is declared. Now, here's the thing. This bill hasn't passed yet, but if they're proposing it, I'm operating under the supposition that they already have a place to, quote-unquote, detain you. Obviously more than one. I mean, we're potentially talking about thousands, if not maybe even hundreds of thousands of people. Who knows? So that means that they obviously have intentions to go ahead and pass this. Now, I may be jumping the gun here, but you certainly don't propose the bill and build the detention centers after, is my point. As long as the government can provide clear and convincing evidence that a person is sick or was merely exposed to someone who is, that person could legally be removed from their home and taken into government custody. People being removed will have the right to legal representation, are allowed to supply the telephone numbers of friends or family to receive notification of the individual's detention, reveals Nema Harris from News Punch. Okay, so you're detained, people know that you're there, but as far as clear and convincing, that's a very gray area, folks, and I'm basing that on the people that have already gotten vaccinated for the virus. Some have actually taken the test maybe a week or two later, and they've tested positive. So where do these people fit in? They can prove that they've been vaccinated, not that that matters, but they've tested positive. So it basically makes it a moot point. If enacted, the law would allow the governor or health official of a state to unilaterally approve such detentions. However, a court order would be required within 60 days of confinement, along with a judicial review if a person is still in a concentration camp after 90 days. Once the health authorities determine that a person is safe and no longer contagious, he or she may then be released back into society, but not before this time, the proposal makes clear. Once again, that brings to light what I said at the beginning of the video. How does this person earn money to pay their bills in this time? There's obviously going to be no provision for that. So that would obviously place undue hardship on a lot of people. Those still deemed to be a health risk while being detained will be required to submit a prescribed course of treatment, preventative medication, or vaccination. The bill further states, meaning freedom of health choice would not be an option. Well, okay, that basically says, well, you stay here until you decide to be vaccinated. If the government is deciding what has to be injected into your body in order for you to participate in society, sorry folks, we no longer live in a free society anymore. These are the types of things they do. These are the types of things that the CCP does. Bill A416 does not specifically mention CV, but that's obviously what it's about. To be clear, the bill does not mention CV or COVID-19 by name. However, it is obvious from the current state of affairs that that is what it is being referred to, with ominous implications for those who refuse to get jabbed. Perry did introduce a nearly identical bill from the 2015-16 legislative session, though it would also appear that any other communicable diseases that the government deems high risk. The proposed bill is slated to be reviewed by the Assembly's Health Committee at point in January, while it still has a long way to go before ever potentially being adopted. Many are warning about how it is now to prevent from ever possibly happening. I knew Cuomo was a bit of an authoritarian anti-Semite, but I never thought the state would go literally Nazi, wrote conservative commentator Ian Miles Chong on his Twitter account. Chong's comment is reference to the draconian crackdowns imposed by Cuomo earlier this year against New York's Jewish community, which had largely refused to abide by the state's COVID-19 restrictions. This was a conspiracy theory like many other things 9 or 10 months ago, wrote another Twitter commentator, about how the idea of concentration camps for the Wuhan coronavirus is being talked about before Perry introduced his proposal. People, if you live in New York, even if you don't live in New York, because this could very well be proposed in your state, I highly suggest that you send your politicians there a very, very stern email saying that you oppose this. Well, thank you very much for listening to my video. Please, 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 did I mention please like, comment, share, and subscribe? Please help fight the censorship, and God bless each and every one of you.